theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Suzy Wrong. I was going to say Happy New Year.
Hey, Warren, you know we don't shy away from probing questions on our Tuesday chats.
We don't. What do you got?
Inspired by today's movie about queer history and legacy, I'm going to ask you something very personal. Are you ready?
No.
Who's in your will? Who are you leaving all your mansions and jewels?
That's usually, as if I have mansions and jewels. Who's in my will? Oh, Suzy, what if I said you?
I wouldn't believe it for a sec.
You'd come and kill me, wouldn't you? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I do have one, of course, and it probably needs updating. So I need to.
When was it last done? When was it last updated?
I do it every few years. Having said that, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, it's important. This is a good conversation to have. The only reason I'm not saying who's in it because it's a surprise for them.
I see. Okay,
but yes, I not having children.
Is
it's
it
a big
family
question.
blood related or not?
No, it's not. It's not family related. Sorry, everyone. You're all disappointed. No, it's. I don't have.
It can still change. It can still change.
I don't have any family really. I don't. I've got my dad left, and that's it. My cousins and all that are so distant. I wouldn't even know them if I went and ran into them in the street. So there's only me left. So I don't have family at all. I don't. There's no blood left and that's probably a good thing. I don't keep in contact.
Yeah, that makes it very, very interesting. Very well to me, very different.
What about you?
Well, at the moment, I've got one niece. That's all, and she's kind of special because she's the only one that's from my mother's lineage. So she's the only one from my mother's lineage, the only one that's kind of completely same bloodline as me. I have half siblings who are very likely going to have their children, but they are not going to be connected to my mother. So at the moment, it's probably my 11-year-old niece. When I saw her just a few weeks ago, I actually sat her down. Well, I didn't sit her down. We were all sat around having casual conversations. And I actually gave her that question. I said, do I leave you everything?
And what did she say? Did she say yes?
It was interesting. No, she said, oh, it's up to you. It's none of my business.
But she was thinking inside, yes, please, Suzy. Do you reckon?
I don't think so. I think at that age, they're probably not kind of, I don't think that they grow into that kind of way of thinking of things yet. Obviously, I could see her ticking away in the head. And then I explained to her how I might have other nieces and nephews, but they are kind of a little bit less related. And I asked her, should that matter? And she was a little bit stumped as I am,
difficult,
which is understandable.
Difficult questions. And it's a difficult conversation because why wouldn't you consider leaving it to good friends who've been with you for a long time and supported you through things? Because that's my strategy, is those that have been close to me, I want them to have it. My whole $10.
Look, I've got my kind of personal trauma about not being taken care of by my father in a way that I felt like he had the responsibility to. So I think that really colors how I think about property, and it really makes me feel like even though my niece is probably going to get a lot of help from a lot of people around her, because my brother has really strong connections and she's got really great godparents and all that, she's not going to depend on what I'm going to leave her. But I do feel like my personal feelings about that kind of responsibility between generations, that feeling is very intense for me. So a vast majority, I'd imagine, is going to be going to her. And, as I grow, a little bit older, I think a lot more about my late mother, and that's really significant that she's only got one granddaughter, and that really affects how I think about things.
Suzy, I can reveal one recipient, and that is a portion of my will or estate, whatever we want to call it, will go to buying land and regenerating it.
Oh. Explain?
So buying land and replanting it with native trees and fencing it off from pests and allowing...
And who owns it?
Well, it will have to be an estate.
Ah.
That's where the lawyers come in to do it. But that is something that is in my world, definitely.
Have you decided where that's going to be?
I haven't decided. It's not for me to decide. It's for a charitable organisation that does that to decide how to use it. But that's what the purpose will be.
That's meaningful.
Is about reclaiming some of the land and giving it back to the native flora and fauna, because I care. That's important to me. That's important. We're not just take from the land. So yes, that and then the others as a surprise. What a great conversation to have on the radio. Very intimate, Suzy.
I really applaud you for that. I love that so much. And that leads us, I think, very nicely to this week's movie.
It is. It's called The History of Sound. Suzy, give us your review.
It is the year 1919. Lionel and David travel across the state of Maine in USA to collect folk songs on what was then new technology that allowed the recording of music on wax cylinders. The two men are very much in love, but clearly circumstances meant that they had to keep everything hush-hush, and when their project comes to an end, they very sadly have to part ways, since there was no longer any legitimate reason for them to spend every day and night together. The movie is the history of sound, screening at cinemas in Melbourne and Sydney, a tender and wistful romance composed of beautiful imagery and exquisite performance that I found to be quite entrancing. Actors Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor are wonderful, both bringing subtle authenticity and disarming chemistry to a quiet movie that proves surprisingly involving. We see a process of historical documentation taking place for songs of various communities and understand that they're preserved for posterity. Simultaneously, we observe the unspoken love of two men and understand how all evidence of that connection is made invisible, so that relationships of that nature are never acknowledged and routinely forgotten. Without identifiable predecessors and having no documented history, queer people are then left stranded, devoid of guiding lights, made to think that our lives and existence are worthless and abominable. Films like The History of Sound provide us with a renewed and concrete appreciation of the ones who have come before, allowing us to attain an understanding that we have always been here, that we were always meant to be, which is unquestionably healing for our collective psychology. The movie is thankfully not a sappy affair, but in its concluding moments, I'm sure many of you will find to be very poignant, if not terribly moving. Warren, I think I've finally found a romance that I actually enjoy.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Suzy, before we talk about it, Thomas sent in a message saying, hello guys, really interesting chat about inheritance and who gets what. I'm from Germany and I have no family here. I've got friends, but I will survive them. I most likely leave it to Thorn Harbour or Positive Living Victoria. That's from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas.
That is so
for
great.
Sharing that. That's very intimate too.
I wonder if that's a commonality between queer people, that we kind of don't have children of our own, that we probably have a greater propensity to leave it to charity, or leave it a big proportion of it to charity.
Maybe. There
needs to be some kind of data for that.
That'll change the attitude of those who don't like us, won't they? They'll want our money.
Yeah.
Oh.
There should be some kind of competition, to show that of everyone we give the most to charity. That would be a great
exactly.
data to have.
So leave the gays alone. There you go. If you know what's good for you, Suzy, I really like this movie. I think it was great. Sound. I love sound. I mean, this movie was asking us to slow down, to listen, not just to music, but also to people, to memory, and to what lingers long after that moment has passed. And I found it, Suzy, a bit less about plot and more about feeling, and how sound can carry love, loss, and also identity across time. And Suzy, I don't know, but do you find songs take you back to a certain part of your life? And when you hear it, it instantly sort of creates that rich memory, not just a, oh yeah, I remember that, but that feeling as though you're there. You can feel it. You can feel the emotions that happened at the time. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, it's like a visceral recall. Like you can feel like in your bones and your blood. I think the film does so much with atmosphere, you know, and I don't think there's a lot in terms of dialogue, which is to be understood, which we can understand because at that time people kind of don't talk about these things about queer love, and it does it so incredibly well. The last few weeks, actually, that we did a few stories about romance, you know, the dancing one and then the hockey player ones. I kind of felt like, yeah, I know what they're trying to do. I know what they're trying to say. And much as the actors were working very hard, I kind of didn't really invest myself into it. I didn't quite believe. I felt it was all very play acting. And this one was so quiet, but I never once questioned the legitimacy of that connection. And, you know, I'm not kind of a really soft, emotional person in that regard, but I found myself really interested, at least, or just kind of really drawn into the meaning of that connection. And then because the story goes for decades and decades, and I thought that became such a meaningful way of framing a love story.
I love that. Suzy softens up.
Takes a lot.
She's softening in her old age. I love it. What do you think, though, Suzy? You're like butter that's been left out of the fridge, slowly softening. What about music as intimacy? I mean, you mentioned it. Music in the film replaces the conversation as such. Have you ever shared a song with someone that said more than words can? Because I'm big on music. I remember meeting guys and I was singing to them. Can you believe it?
Oh, you sing to them.
And then they run.
I have never heard of a white person do that.
No, but true. I mean, music can sometimes say things and songs can say things that perhaps we're too scared to say ourselves, or we can't articulate.
Look, I've got this lover, right? That I've had for like, I don't know, 10, 12 years.
Oh wow!
And every time we see each other, we be playing Sade.
Smooth operator.
Well, it's just that we spend about 2 hours together, so it's more than smooth operator. But it's interesting because it's been such a long history of just my relationship with this man, and also in the middle of us, Sade. So over 10 years, it's really kind of become this big thing that it's like a third wheel in this relationship. It's quite funny.
I love it. Suzy, what do you reckon about silence doing the talking as well? Because there's a lot of silence in the film. Are you comfortable sitting in silence? Let's talk about your lover.
I'm really good with silence. I'm really good with awkwardness, I think. I don't know when it's become a thing, but I think it's to do with courage a bit, and it's to do with some kind of resilience in yourself. Like, I think it takes quite a bit of strength to be able to withstand awkwardness and not to betray the awkwardness. I think I've learned to appreciate that awkwardness between people often means something. And I think when I was younger, and like most people, you tend to want to disrupt the awkwardness by introducing something that is false and dishonest. It's usually a joke or something, and then you break it, but you also distract from whatever true that was happening. And at some stage in my life, I became quite comfortable with awkwardness, and I would say I actually quite appreciate it, because I think the awkwardness points to something real that's happening, that maybe both parties or however many people are present are something true is happening, but you don't understand it. So I don't like kind of distracting from not understanding. I'd rather sit and wait for some kind of understanding to happen.
Sit with the discomfort and it becomes comfortable. I love it when you end up with, in a relationship with someone. I don't necessarily mean an intimate relationship, any relationship with someone, and you get to that point where you can be really comfortable with sitting in silence. I think it's just absolute bliss. I love it, Suzy.
That's nice. I think you don't want to always feel like you need to fill the air. I think that's not very
Suzy, what are we watching next week?
Lesbian Space Princess is an animated film made in Australia about a space princess on a galactic quest to save her bounty hunter ex-girlfriend from straight white aliens. Rented on digital platforms, and we'll have a chat about Lesbian Space Princess. Let's see you next Tuesday. Here's Sade with Smooth Operator. Bye-bye!